Hi, so this is an episode of Film Recommendations that I've been putting off and putting off because, frankly, it required me watching a movie that was so bad I had to stop watching it right in the middle of it. Uh, it's a two-part miniseries called The Witches of Oz, but uh, the Wikipedia entry for it lists it as Dorothy and the Witches of Oz. Now, how do I put this? Okay, I'm not a huge fan of the Walt Disney Company, the Walt Disney Corporation, right? I think that they do far too much recycling. I think that they rely too much on brand name recognition, and that they're very that they've become a much cheapened and commercialized version of what they once were. You know, it's become more about making money, selling the product, uh, getting the product out there, selling the toys, selling the Happy Meal, and just continuously buying into consumerism. I have a problem with that because then the filmmaking is no longer about art. That being said, not long after, uh, not sometime in the 1950s, I want to say it was, uh, Disney bought the rights to the Wizard of Oz books and planned to make a series of films uh, continuing the adventures of Dorothy in the Land of Oz. Uh, the first of these films that Walt Disney's company produced was called Return to Oz, and it combined a couple of the different books, uh, mostly taken from Ozma of Oz. Um, it featured uh, wonderful direction, a very young Firuza Balk. Um, it went way over budget and took a lot of time to produce, uh, largely because it was produced in Great Britain, uh, and I believe it was at the time of a Writers Guild and Actors Guild strike. So Hollywood was on strike, and they went to Britain to produce it. It went way over budget, but it has remained a cult favorite and one of the few classic Disney films of the 80s when Disney almost went bankrupt from the films they were producing. Uh, Films like The Great Mouse Detective and The Brave Little Toaster are also favorites, while films like The Black Hole uh, ended up being kind of a black hole for profits. Um, and there are just several forgotten Disney films from the 1980s. Uh, Oliver and Company is a good example, where they didn't make a lasting impact. They didn't make a very large amount of box office. The fact is, people just weren't as interested in seeing an animated musical at that time in history. Then they came back with the more anime-styled characters, starting with The Little Mermaid, which broke them out of the hole they were in. Recently, Disney kind of lost rights to it, um, which is why you've seen so many uh, Wizard of Oz based stories. Wicked is the most popular example, uh, and in that one, it's kind of told from the Wicked Witch's point of view, uh, and the Scarecrow is her boyfriend, and uh, there's all other kinds of stuff involved. It's become a hit musical on Broadway, and it's been touring for years now, which I'm perfectly fine with. Wicked has made a lot of my friends very happy, uh, and it seems like it's a good show. I'm gonna have to check it out someday. Uh, I just haven't been uh, doing that kind of stuff, checking out musicals. Contrasting that, you have the sci-fi television miniseries Tin Man, which was actually really good. It featured Alan Cumming, uh, Zoe Deschanel, and I believe I've previously recommended it in a previous episode. It's a good series. I recorded it off of television when it was first broadcast. Uh, because I had to do stuff when it was on air, and I've just kept it. Uh, Plus, I've never really seen it to buy. Um, so it's just been a very interesting series to watch. It has its good points and its bad points, but at least the plot holds together. Um, Sci-Fi did some similar stuff with Peter Pan recently in the miniseries Neverland, and a couple of years ago they did a series called Alice, and I believe I recommended that in a previous episode. Uh, all of these relatively okay, didn't necessarily always make sense, but was still better than nothing. Dorothy and the Witches of Oz was produced and released in 2012. It was produced in 2010, and it features an actually good cast, but it seems like they spent all their money on casting. Uh, it was directed, produced, uh, written by Leigh Scott. Who the heck is Leigh Scott? Well, I have the magical Wikipedia machine up here, and yeah, I'm looking at this, and okay, I'm looking at the stuff they've done. Bram Stoker's Dracula's Curse, The Beast of Bray Road, Exorcism, The Possession of Gail Bowers, The 9/11 Commission Report, and Transmorphers, that ripoff of Transformers that has made so much racket. Um, Apparently, he was supposed to do H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds in 2005. He did Pirates of Treasure Island, Invasion of the Pod People, The Apocalypse, Hillside Cannibals. Wow, this is... Okay, this is someone who has no business directing something at all. This is a director and writer of bad movies, clearly. Um, I saw that there were good actors in this film. They had two of the hobbits from Lord of the Rings in this film. Sean Astin plays what do they call it, a wackadoo, and Billy Boyd plays a love interest who you see all the way up to the end, and then not again, really. They don't explain what exactly happens to things, but let me get into a couple of things that are wrong with this film straight away. Uh, you have some okay actors in this film. Why they're in this film, I have no idea. Um, just looking, Jeffrey Combs plays Frank, who is supposed to be L. Frank Baum, who, supposedly would have written the Oz books, and then, yeah. Jeffrey Combs is a really good actor. I don't know why he's in this. They must have paid him plenty, but I wouldn't have had my name attached to it. I'm looking at other stuff. Billy Boyd's character's name is Nick Chopper, and um, all along, right, no, not all along, but about halfway through, you're led to believe that he is the Tin Woodsman. Uh, his name is Nick Chopper, and he would actually look good as the Tin Woodsman. But no, they decide just as it's getting towards the climax of the film to make it actually some cyborg who works over somewhere. They don't really show who it is, but they show a name patch with the name Rick. They don't show his face, and this is part of the problem with this film. The framing that Leigh Scott does, because he titled himself as everything in this film: director of photography, director, writer, producer, everything. The framing on every shot is way too tight, and the cuts are all very short. Even in calm scenes, the director doesn't bother framing a shot nicely, like if it was on a storyboard or something, where you'll be able to see all of the different action. He just cuts to a different camera over and over and over again. And this was apparently shot widescreen or something format. I don't know, but uh, so as I was watching, uh, it was showing on television in full screen format and did not adapt well to full screen format. Uh, all kinds of stuff at the sides was getting cut off. You saw parts of people's faces. So I have no idea what the heck was going on with this film. Um, Plot points were put in there and then not explained. For some reason, like in the original Oz films, the house gets transported by the Twister all the way to the land of Oz, and Dorothy lands on the witch. Now, at that point, the scene is actually made funny. But here's part of the problem. The film bounces between being having like cartoony comedic moments and writing and having very serious melodramatic writing, more like what you would see in Tin Man, uh, which was done in a very dramatic style very well. Um, the the computer effects that they use to make the Land of Oz and make the tornado and make a lot of the special effects look like something from 10 or 15 years ago in terms of the quality. Um, they look like something that might have been done for, a really, really bad, cheap movie. Um, I'm looking at the running time and it says that it's 100 minutes, but it felt like so much longer. I had to keep pausing it and walking away because the quick frame cuts and the tight framing made it so hard to deal with. I'm still having a little bit of a hard time because I watched it just a little while ago. I finished watching it. Um, Another little problem, it doesn't seem like the writers knew what story they were writing about, what story they were writing for. They kept stretching out everything in terms of the action. Characters would just be standing there while other characters were doing things. And those characters could have been doing something. When you have characters awkwardly lying there or standing there and nothing's happening, and there's stuff that's supposed to be going on at the same time, it's pretty much a sign you've got bad writing on your hands. Christopher Lloyd plays the Wizard of Oz in this, um, and he's very good as the wizard. He really is. Uh, but right in the middle of things, as the witch is like going, "I shall rule the world," ha ha ha. Uh, she starts reciting Jabberwock from Alice in Wonderland, which makes no sense as to why she's doing that. And Billy Boyd's reaction is pretty much my reaction. Okay. Another really terrible example from this movie uh, is, frankly, the fact that like they keep alluding to the fact that Dorothy is the real Dorothy from the story. Um, they choose an actress who's very uncompelling and unexpressive. Um, they have um, it, they keep alluding to that. They keep referencing that the Wicked Witch of the East is actually her agent, who's trying to supposedly get her books about Oz turned into movies uh, in New York for some reason, uh, at an address that's on Central Park West. Ha ha. You know, there's no real subtlety or subtle nods or foreshadowing or whatever in this film. It's all just the same stuff. Lines are repeated several times. Oh, this city makes you, or this place makes you forget, everything. Um, there are several references to what all transpires. The fact is, with all these memories that are supposedly coming back over and over again, all these flashbacks, you could just have one continuous flashback, uh, kind of like what they did in Tin Man, where suddenly everything comes back all at once instead of comes back little by little, and it would be easier to follow. Another thing is, stop having characters stand idly by or just disappear whenever it's convenient. I mean, literally, Billy Boyd's character, Nick Chopper, disappears, as does the Cowardly Lion. He disappears. Uh, and instead, we're only focusing on Glinda, who's battling. Uh, what do they call her? They call her Princess Langwidere, um, and um, the Tin Woodsman, who's like some kind of RoboCop thing. Uh, that, like I said, comes out of nowhere. We see that his name is Rick, and he, I guess, works for some kind of cable company. I don't know, but there's like no explanation of that, where he's been up till this point at all. For some reason, they didn't just make Nick Chopper the Tin Woodsman. They actually have a thing where the lion is like, "He's the Scarecrow. I'm the lion. You're the Tin Woodsman. You're the Tin Man." And he's like, "Yeah, I remember. I'm the Tin Man." And then he gets knocked on his butt. For, and for some reason, he isn't the Tin Man. So why would he remember anything? One really big thing that I mentioned earlier is the house flies all the way to Oz. Then later, uh, what is it? Jeffrey Combs' character says uh, that the mom found the uh, the water ball, the snow globe that was in the house. But how did the house make it back to Kansas at all? If you know, uh, if it was transported to Oz, that doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. Um, and yet they're saying, oh well, the house was still there, and indeed the same house is there in things. Uh, the house, for some reason, in 1889, has a modern 20th century deck on it, uh, out back, for no apparent reason. Uh, they just found a house and, you know, didn't bother doing anything. It's just, it's an insult to the audience's intelligence to put in giant plot holes like that. Um, they feature TikTok. It seems like they were originally planning on having more scenes taking place in Oz, but the writing got rewritten so many times that they just gave up or something. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense. So I'm just looking here. Okay, it says it was released theatrically in the United States in early 2012. It opened in select AMC theaters, Harkins theaters, Rave Motion Pictures, and Marcus theaters venues in Arizona, Kentucky, Kansas, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Iowa, and Illinois. So, in other words, uh, places where they just kind of needed to where they yeah. Um, Local premiere events and promotional tours were put together throughout the course of the film's theatrical run. It opened to generally mixed reviews. No kidding. Oh, and I forgot. For some reason, they have Christopher Lloyd appear at the end, and he is noodling around on a bassoon, which is a very high-pitched instrument, and he's playing what clearly is played on the synthesizer, a cheap synthesizer, a song that's supposed to be Somewhere Over the Rainbow, but they change a couple of notes so that they don't infringe on the copyright or have to pay royalties or whatever. And but it's clearly supposed to be that. And she remembers that she's Dorothy Gale. He's clearly the wizard visiting her, checking up on her or something. And then for some reason they do several flyovers of they cut to several flyovers of New York, uh, making no sense. It seems to be as much about a girl just going to New York and selling her book in the first half, and then at the end, there's no idea what the heck is going on. Oh God, no. It says here on Wikipedia that Leigh Scott and Eliza Swenson announced in an interview on the Morning Blend show in Milwaukee that a sequel was in development. I don't want to live on this planet anymore. It was produced for a budget of $5 million, and I'm guessing that most of that went to the casting, the the big name actors that they could get on board for it. I don't know why Billy Boyd is in it. I don't know why Christopher Lloyd is in it. I don't know why Jeffrey Combs or Sean Astin are in it. I guess the it must have been pitched to them at a point where the script was better. The scenes that they appeared in must have been better. You can tell that the wackadoos are guys standing in front of a green screen or a blue screen very easily. The the sound, the way they're in focus, uh, it's just done terribly. The acting is uncompelling even from the good actors. They clearly were not given direction or a sense of the character enough. Jeffrey Combs and Christopher Lloyd really stand out in this film as the best actors, and Billy Boyd does a good job too. Sean Astin does an okay job, but yeah, it's just unfortunate. This is really one of the worst films I've ever seen. It clearly had an okay budget in terms of getting the actors. Nothing was left for special effects. Apparently, it was produced in Connecticut for some reason because they think at the end the Connecticut Film Board or whatever. So I don't know. That might have been part of the problem. There's just so many things wrong with this film to pick out. Uh, I've tried to piece together how this whole plot works together somehow, and how the writer and all these people on board could possibly think that this film made sense, but it's honestly one of the worst films I've ever seen. They don't bother introducing anybody. Uh, if this is supposed to be a family film, okay. You still want to introduce people, say their name, uh, kind of thing. They show the Gnome King, but they don't give you the Gnome King's name. Um, for some reason there's a dragon. Uh, they have TikTok featured briefly at one point in the story. TikTok, the mechanical army of Oz, and he's there briefly and then gone. Uh, so frankly, I'm just ticked about this. Uh, they really chopped up all of the good parts of things. They refer to Ozma, but they didn't have the character of Ozma play a role. Um, and for those who don't know, Ozma is the Queen of Oz um, before the wizard came, uh, and the wizard was made the ruler of Oz because he was very wise. They could have done all of that. They could have actually produced a version of all of all of the actual material that L. Frank Baum wrote, which holds up in storyline and premise. You know, have Toto start talking in the later books, uh, and you know, then have them ask, well, why didn't you ever talk before? And Toto simply say, in one of the best jokes ever written in a children's book, oh, I had nothing to say. I'm sorry. That's a great explanation. It's simple, it's to the point, and from a dog's point of view, it makes perfect sense. I can't believe that they would ruin it instead to focus so much on New York and this very uncharismatic actress, Polly Rojas. Uh, you know, I have nothing against her. I'm sure she's a very nice person. I'm sure that she can do some very good acting when she's given good direction. The problem is, I think that this project was just badly done. Leigh Scott may very well be one of the worst people I've ever seen doing anything in film. I mean, we're talking producing, writing, acting, playing bit parts in the film. For some reason, there's a very well-dressed news reporter dressed like he's a guy going out to the club. I mean, he has a clubbing fedora on, he has uh, a red shirt and tie, and a black jacket. Is this the director? I really want to know because, frankly, uh, this guy is just awful. I'm looking on MySpace. This guy's gonna have his pick on MySpace. Everybody has their pick on MySpace. For those who have their picks on MySpace. Okay, it wasn't that guy. I don't know what is with this guy. I don't know who he is. But I'm just watching this film. It's absolutely horrible, and this guy must be stopped. I, I'm I'm sorry for doing this review. It's a horrible movie. Don't watch it ever. Don't don't sit your kids down to watch it. It will give them pain. It will give them pain in the worst way. This may be one of the worst films I've ever seen. It has a budget, it has special effects, it has great actors who are doing the best they can with a terrible writer and director. Oh, I'm gonna go and try and forget all about this film. So that's it for this episode of Film Recommendations. Bye.